going to go blue.
I think your song's probably better.
Gone blue. There we go. It's gone blue. I pressed go live, so
It's
they
gone
get
blue.
whatever at that point.
Yeah,
Good evening.
I've stopped singing now. We won't get demonetized for that. I mean, we're not monetized, but we won't get demonetized. Hello, everybody. Hello, Deirdre. Hello, Andrea. Yes, this was a triumph. I'm being so sincere right now. How are you, Mikey?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. I've had a very fun and
close
productive
that.
and all over the place week.
Oh, very nice.
I've been wearing many hats this week.
That sounds exciting.
Yes.
You've been hat shopping?
No. Figurative.
Hello, Roderick.
Good evening.
It's been an exciting week for me, not least of which because I woke up and found there was a big leak in my kitchen ceiling and my landlord's out of town.
Oh. Was it a giant vegetable competition gone wrong?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which then burst a pipe.
Oh. Well, those giant leaks are very thirsty, so... Right?
I don't want to get into how thirsty those giant leaks are. So today, in our rotation of videos, we are on the Godot rotation. So we'll be doing some Godot stuff. And I want to do two things. First, I want to get Mikey to show you and to explore himself where we are with the current procedural generation stuff for the upcoming Godot RPG course, which is coming along quite well. There's been a few changes that Mikey hasn't seen.
Yann did tell me about them, but I've been so, scatterbrained actually setting the stream up that I've actually forgotten what you told me, so it's going to be a surprise anyway.
Great. We're also taking a look at new assets, and I want to be very clear, these are not final assets, and they don't even look as final as the last set, but we're testing ceilings. Yes. You guys haven't seen the ceilings last time, so we wanted to see what it would look like if we got rid of a flat ceiling and put in arch ceilings. It actually changes things dramatically, and I had to redo the lighting and the colors. Hi, Cat. Making a note here, huge success.
Now, I'm going to have to do a couple of things before we stream.
Ooh.
So if you want to talk about some of the things that you've added while I just change the editor settings.
Let's talk about some things we added. First off, the swirly particles are now functional portals, and I've made them look good. And we're back to portals, even more portals.
Can you remind me, Yann, where the full screen mode is? Because we can't have it going full screen.
Project settings.
Yep. I'm in editor settings, that's why.
Yeah, don't go to editor settings.
So many settings. Yeah, so
anyway, this cake is great. It's so delicious and moist. Look at me, still talking with the science tool.
The cake is a lie.
Yeah, no, I'm hyped about the RPG stuff too, as is Caboodle, apparently. So I've made the swirly thing that was slowing down frame rate a portal. I've radically changed how that portal looks. I've put in a few tricks, including particle trails and animated normals, which I'm a bit proud of. The way the portals currently work is it takes a list of every portal room and then just links them in sequence. So 1 will always link to 2, 2 will always link to 3, all the way till we run out of portals, and the last one will link to 0. So if you keep going through them, you'll loop through them all. They are not currently in pairs, which is what you would normally do. We have, as of today, the ability to add unique rooms. Now, we already have kind of a unique room. We have a throne, which is double-spaced, and the start and end room. But now we can specify... I've put in an example of a shop. There is exactly 1 shop per level. There can only be 1 shop per level. There must be 1 shop per level. And we can just keep adding to them and say there's 1 shop, there's 1 hair salon, there's 1, well, it wouldn't be a hair salon, there's skeletons. There was 1 skull polishing salon, whatever else you might need, right? So if you decide there's going to be a blacksmith or a temple or
or whatever
book stretching emporium. So those are all things. Once we've had a look at that, and Mikey's finished setting up, I want to take a look at how to set up tile maps in Godot 4, because tile maps are incredibly powerful, especially in Godot 4, the new terrain system, which is what's replaced the auto tile system from Godot 3, is amazing. But the user experience setting it up isn't great. And speaking to some people, they know this. They're trying to find a better interface to do it. What you can do is phenomenal, but just getting it working takes a little bit of poking. It's not immediately obvious. So we're going to look at that a little bit. Mikey, how's the import going?
I just just trying to get the import's fine. It's imported now, which is great. I'm just trying to get it to show on one side of my screen rather than in the middle. Otherwise, people are going to see just half a stream, which wouldn't be
You
that
could
exciting.
just do the whole window like we used to do.
No.
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 Okay. What else have we added? Mikey gave me these arch pieces, but they're on very flat walls. They work great, but we lost a lot of the interesting detail on these tunnels, and you'll see this in a minute. Because all the little archways and things on the side have gone, the geometry is very flat, and suddenly it looked like a 90s game, an early 90s game at that. So we played around with adding a little bit of geometry. And Michael suggested adding gates. So I got a picture of Bill Gates, and that didn't work. So instead, he made a wooden gate. So we've put that on a couple of the pieces. And it actually adds a lot of depth to it when you run across them.
I was actually very surprised when you sent me the screenshot earlier, how different it made it look. So I'm just going to import my settings from the last time you shared this with me, because I know I got it working on there. So in Godot, you can make things full screen when you're previewing them. You can have them on the little screen. I had a specific set of settings. Unfortunately, when I tried to set it, sort of like, you can type in the coordinates where the screen appears, and it doesn't go to where I told it. So naughty.
Yeah, it's annoying. Caboodle, will you just settle down? Look at me, still talking when there's science to do. Sorry.
That is absolutely fine. You can
writes good
entertain
songs.
people with that. Resizable on, keep screen on.
I know I should be keeping people busy, but watching you like struggle is much more entertaining. This week on Mikey does an impersonation of a monkey being shown a math problem.
Why have I got different project? Advanced settings. That's why I can't resize
There you go.
Oh, well, it's not an advanced setting. I just
if you'd shared your screen with me, I could have walked you through it. Should have thought of that.
Well, I can't share the screen because it's not
with me
in the right place. Oh yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, genius. As you can tell, as always, we're well prepared for this.
Right. I've realized around 5:30, 6 o'clock. I hadn't eaten yet, so I had to run out and get groceries. We normally converge around 6:30, so today we got together at 6:50, 6:55. So we're very professional. We should have made that loading graphic.
We definitely should. Now, I'm not sure whether this is going to share the right window with you. I'm going to give it a go.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but it doesn't share the pop-up window that appears.
Or share the screen, not the program.
It doesn't give me an option to share the screen. I don't know.
It gives me an option to share the screen.
Yeah, I can share one of my screens. I can't share the one that actually has the thing on for some
Drag the window with the pop-ups to that screen.
That's not a bad idea. Yann's full of the great ideas today.
Oh, he's written some amazing songs. I mean, Real Brains is fantastic. In fact, that whole album is amazing.
Right, so I'm not on the right project yet, so let me go to the right project.
Yep, and I'm staring at these tiny DPIs. 1st of May is an amazing song. I will not be singing that because we'll get flagged, but it's a great song.
I don't think that'll qualify as music. We'll be fine.
No, it's more the content.
Oh, well, is it not suitable for minors?
Well, you could listen to it in a mine. I just don't think children should be listening to it.
That's fair enough. So here's my window. Yeah.
Here's your window, very small. Okay, so we'll go back. Window. See, it says full screen. Put it windowed.
It is windowed.
Okay, is it on borderless?
No, it's not. Didn't need it last time either.
Yeah, then it should work fine. You should be able to drag it where you want. The real problem is you might have to Alt Tab to move the window.
Oh, that's fine. Let's just try these settings here, because it's just shoving in the center of my screen and I can't drag it anywhere. You know what? Give me 30 seconds as an alternative to this, and I would just change the aspect ratio of the monitor.
Any way I can. I'd sure appreciate you spending time out with me. I'm not a monster, Tom. Well, technically I am.
Right. What I can do, let's grab this.
Yup.
I say I can grab this. I think if I drag it to the other screen, it just won't. Godot won't launch on it. Remember,
You have to launch it and then grab it.
Launch it and then grab it.
The stream may have turned itself to a slideshow. There's some weird things going on. We're very prepared.
Shouldn't be a slideshow.
So you can't just share that window.
I'm going to set it up on OBS.
Yes.
Well, try to. Unfortunately, if I do this, it will go dark for a moment, guys. So bear with us. It won't go like...
Stage going black.
So if I add a window...
This is what's like behind the scene, a canopy.
Pretty much.
Which of these buttons isn't quit?
Yes, I don't know why Godot can't move the window around. That's really...
It can.
It can't. It genuinely can't. Display capture. There we go.
Maybe I'm not understanding what you mean.
All right, perfect. That should override us.
Okay.
Then I make it full screen.
And go gadget game.
I'll press play, and then it'll launch in the middle of the screen, and then I'll just drag it across. Where'd it go?
Trail telling.
Well, now it's us again. Oh,
I mean, I see something. It's all very weird.
Okay, that didn't work for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe if I do it again now, the programs are running.
Let's find out.
Window capture. And then we'll figure out this bug for future.
Yep.
Is it the one that says debug? It is.
Ta-da.
That looks about right. Guys,
Yep.
Can you see the game? Pew, pew, pew.
Oof. I mean, I can, but only on your OBS, but that's fine.
That's fine for what we're doing here. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can all see now. Apologies for the technical difficulties, like speaking.
And the inability to say technical.
I was going to get away with that if it weren't for your meddling
I'm waiting kids.
for
the 30 seconds. There we go. Should be coming up.
Oh, look at that.
Now.
Actually, that's really nice, the shadow it puts on the ceiling there.
Yep. No, it makes a huge difference, the geometry.
Yeah. So this is just a quick low poly trellis that I added.
Well said, Deirdre.
I can't see the chat. You'll have to inform me.
You would almost think you guys do this professionally. Just adding a little bit of extra geometry inside the corridors gives a lot of more depth. Like the way the shadows change everything, it just makes it a lot more.
I wasn't sure. I genuinely wasn't sure whether or not this would be too small or too big a gap to walk through. So I thought I'd get.
Well, I've had to narrow the walls. You see, with those little gutters.
Oh yes.
Because it was too wide, whereas the archways actually had those runners. So I tested them on the long pieces.
Yeah. Nice.
But I like the ceiling. It just as a general shape. It feels very wide, but we can narrow that down. Let's see if you can find a portal or the shop.
Be awesome. So one of the things with live streaming is it never goes right.
No.
There's always some technicality.
Also, don't forget I'm watching 30 seconds behind. So when I'm giving,
I've got a skull crown.
I gave you a skull crown back.
Nice.
For those who missed it last week, Mikey does that every time. So I made it so if you jump on the throne, the skull falls off and lands on your head.
Pew pew. I found a crate. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Deirdre. There's a lot you can do with Godot 4, and this is without any real texturing. I mean, this is just flat colors. There's no normal maps.
Yes,
to speak
we
of.
definitely need to. Now, it was very interesting. So this in Blender looked a lot sharper as it came into the corner, into the middle. But as you can see here on the screen at the moment, there's this area where it just goes smooth. So I need to play with sharpness, perhaps even break the geometry.
Play with sharpness, but I will also say add in a few more colors and a little bit more detail. Like that's going to make the big difference.
Oh, I like some of these darker areas as well.
Yeah, I've changed the power of the lights and how many lights there are. So there's now a 50% chance for a light to appear as opposed to 75%.
Yeah, that really does add to the ambience of the.
But let's see if you can find a portal, because you've not seen these in action yet. You've just seen screenshots.
Okay, so this is weird, and this is feedback for myself. I'm just sort of speaking out loud here.
I've changed how the floors generate. Yeah,
the way that these elements interface with the floor is just not right. If we were to have these
No,
in here,
you threw this together like.
No, but I want to see this. It's the first time I've really seen it in
Yeah.
action, other than a screenshot. And here it really needs something to interface with the floor, whether that's debris, whether it's an actual mounting point or something else. But it needs something there. It can't just exist like that. Maybe even some sort of metal bolts pulling it down, so
Yeah,
a flange
yeah,
or
definitely.
something like that.
I've actually added some metal bolts to some of the wall pieces, or not metal bolts,
Oh, I like that.
rings. Roderick says, good choice of ceiling, looks nice and appropriate. Yes, I mean, so we were talking about having different types of ceiling. I don't know that we're going to be using them all in this particular course, but certainly for asset packs, because you could have a nice gothic fluted one, you could have this lovely cellar style ceiling.
Yeah, when I handed them across to Yann, the first thing I said is they're a bit Romanesque, but then they don't suit the Gothic style that we've got on some of the other walls.
I mean, I have a different vision for how to do these, but that's always what's interesting about working with someone else is you get that creative input from getting something you weren't expecting. Deirdre says the reflection of the light on the floor tiles is delightful. Yes, I've actually turned off screen space reflection because it wasn't adding a lot except for dropped frames. So, yeah. Have you found a
Is this
portal
a portal room?
Yes.
Stargate, anyone?
So now you actually have to walk into the portal. It won't just warp you by setting on the thing, so you can get closer to them.
Oh, that's awesome. The question is, are there just 2 on this level? There might be.
It's possible.
How many different color variations are there of the portal?
9, I think.
Make people vomit if I'm not careful. Yeah, portal.
I mean, there's no effect or anything. It was just a, can I get this working?
Yes.
I mean, have you noticed, by the way, the
awesome.
moving normal on it?
Oh, the ripple in the middle.
Yeah.
I hope the YouTube compression did that.
It's looking fine. I'm just getting the 30-second gap now to see it.
Now these coins are not so bouncy and explosive.
I've limited the
down.
upward thing. Last time I exaggerated it so it'd go above your head. Now they just look like they're escaping the chest. But
I don't know.
Those who missed it last week, fun use of particles.
Oh, what?
Yeah. On the 4 ways, I've put on each of the 4 to see what it looks like.
That would actually look pretty neat with some metal work.
Yeah, I know.
Wood. Yeah. Okay. Proof of concept. This is what you need to do, guys. Is just bash stuff out and see how it looks.
And it makes a huge difference because, like, I now know things I can do with it. Mikey knows ways we can go with it. We can give each other feedback, and that's when we start getting good assets, right? Because initially, if you just have these flat walls, they look fine as pieces. You put them in Blender, you put them in the game, and there's just no detail anywhere. Like, you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, it was interesting. The back and forth that Yann and I had trying to work out what we meant. Oh, new room.
This is the unique shop room. I just threw this together in a couple of minutes to be a thing.
Yes, one of the interesting back and forths that Yann and I were having were trying to get the information across. Oh, lots of chests. So one of the we were trying to work out what each other meant, and I thought that Yann meant things more like the torches, maybe having some other stuff hanging off the wall. There needs to be a support there. Note for later.
Yeah, whereas what I actually mean is the walls themselves need more things to block the light, right? We want more interesting shadows.
More shadows.
Because that gives the atmosphere.
Yeah. Whereas
especially
this is nice and lit up and nice. It's clean and polished. This is what the dungeon looked like before, just after the builders had left. No, that's a lie. After the cleaning crew came in, after the builders had left. Skeleton crew.
What kind of PC is this running on at the moment? Windows 1. I'm sorry, he won't use Linux. I keep trying to make him.
Lots of stuff.
I don't know what
you're
using.
On Linux.
Well,
so this is
running when I run it on my computer. I'm running Pop OS, and I'm running a NVIDIA 1080. So we're a couple of generations behind. I have 16 RAM of 16 meg of RAM and an i7, I think. 60 gigs, sorry. An i7. Wow, I just went back to 1992. And I can comfortably get around 55 to 65 frames a second, depending on what's happening. Occasionally, I'll drop down to 45. Mikey, what are you running right now?
Can I correct some of your specs?
No.
Okay. I'm running a Ryzen 7 5950X with a RTX 3090.
Right. And the frame rate's actually printed at the top right of your screen. What have you got?
It's locked to when it gets as high as it goes. It's locked to 120 at the moment.
Right. Now there is some optimization I'm doing here, mostly occlusion culling, which is making a huge
Oh, it made
difference.
a
Yeah,
huge
no, I know
difference.
vintage. I remember when 512 K was excessive. Like my first computer was a 32K computer, which we upgraded to 64, and that was more than you could ever need. And for a while on DOS machines, the amount of RAM that the machine could access was capped because no one believed you would ever need more than 64K. So they had to add more and more memory types so that you could just go
I
into more.
came into computing with my 286, and I
Wow.
remember trying to allocate and playing around with mouse drivers, because out of that 640K that you could use, obviously that would load all your base drivers in, and I wanted sound and to use a mouse, and this was a problem.
Oh yeah, no, you had to boot disks. By the way, I forgot to mention. I can't remember where the library is from here, but the library has now been changed so that the carpets are reactive to where the doors are.
Oh, so they lead in from there. I'm just showing people the portal close up at the moment.
Yeah, if you fire into it, it'll light up as well. I know it won't because you're too close. And because it's black. You can't light black. I'm lying.
I'm like, I keep shooting, it's not lighting up.
And of course, he can press tab and regenerate the whole dungeon.
I haven't seen a library yet, I don't think.
So press tab and regenerate the dungeon and find a library.
Doop.
I mean, you have seen one because it was the thing reminded me.
Oh, okay.
Server room.
I must have skirted through. But yeah, this is really coming on now and starting to
It's
take
coming along
shape,
nicely. So
especially with some
getting it
proper
to
assets.
be able to place props depending on where the walls are was a big trick. Here we go.
So here we've got the library out of there, and if it was,
yeah, it could be
anything that it wanted to be,
with all this talent it had.
Yep.
Really, Bugsy Malone? No one quotes Bugsy Malone.
You see, I quote Bugsy Malone.
But we decided a fact we take pride in to be the very best at being bad.
So,
oh, nice library.
Yep. So we've got a T-junction
Just
one
don't
here.
like these tables.
And here, nice. So nice big library.
Now you'll notice that the carpets don't actually touch in the middle because I haven't set them up properly. But as a proof of concept, this is what I was doing.
Oh yeah. But it looks good, and the fact that they're dynamic as well, so it automatically changes.
It took a little bit of fixing. Oh, I've also redone all of where the floors and rooms are done, because I was just adding rooms in one at a time as I came up to them. I thought, oh, I'll fix it later. I'll get to about 7 room types. And suddenly when I want to change the script, I have to go back and do it. So I got rid of every single room, remade them as instances of a template room, and now it's much more modular, which is what I should have done in the first place.
Hindsight is...
Oh, no, I knew I'd have to do it. I just never did it. Coins!
Yay!
I mean,
Money.
bouncing particles. Does it get better than that? Oh, one more thing I've done. You may not have noticed, but you know on those round step rooms, the altar and the sanctum, you don't have to jump anymore.
Oh. It's always a good thing when you don't notice something, but you're quite right. It doesn't get stuck.
Because before it was like, oh, I can put up with this. And now you don't notice it at all. And I had to do quite a sneaky piece of sneaking to do that. I had to generate a cone mesh, get it the right kind of shape, get it to automatically make a convex collision shape for it, and then remove the mesh.
I think I just teleported a barrel into the void by jumping on it. Donkey Kong smash.
Yeah, the angelic looking torches, or the dragon torches, depending on how gothy you're feeling.
Complete coincidence. That's
yeah.
pretty awesome, the way that ended up showing up.
Whereas the skull torches in the coffin room don't work, so I just remove the shadows from them.
Right, if I do this... Oh, we appear again. Nope.
Oh, so close.
Nice try. There we go. We appear again. Hello, we're back.
We are back. Okay, so shall we talk about tile maps?
Are you sure?
No, but I said I would, so I should. Entire screen 2. I will not be able to see chat. Mikey, you're in charge of the things. Wait,
Yay, I'm in charge. Hi guys, party time.
wait, why can't I? What's good? Am I sharing or not?
I don't know yet.
I thought I was. Share
Yann
entire screen 2. Oh, you're sharing as well.
Is that confusing?
Yes.
There we go. I've stopped sharing.
Okay, now I can't see the stuff I'm sharing. Can you?
I can, yep. We see Godot, it's an empty screen.
Okay, so on my screen it's just a grey thing, but that's fine. Let's just take a look at your face. All right. So first off, let's take a look at the image we're going to be using. I made this. So the idea is we're going to make an automatic tile set, a terrain, that's going to look a bit like blueprints. And this is kind of irritating. There's some steps we need to do that are not immediately obvious. But let's start right at the beginning. Make a new scene. And I'm going to call this level for reasons. And as a child of that, let's add in a tile map. For those of you who don't know, a tile map is a wonderful little resource. It has a bunch of possible tiles, and then you can either draw them manually or create patterns that you can paste in, or create rules where it'll try and find the best pattern, the best tile to fit, depending on what's around it. So we have a tile map. We want to add a tile set. So let's add a new tile set. And here's where everyone gets confused. Because what do I...
I'm going to hide you out of the way, actually, because I feel like we might get into a position
Yes,
where
no, I shouldn't be there.
Your head is covering the screen. There we go. There's a couple of questions. One is, any idea what the additional asset pack will cost at this time? We don't have haven't nailed down a price yet, but it won't be overly expensive. We know that much. We want to make sure that our content is as accessible as possible to most people. The way that we have looked at the general pricing is we've looked at some of what you deem like professional packs out there, like the Cinti stuff, and worked out how many assets that they sell in their huge, great big packs, and also looking at other creators as well to try and position things.
I want to be very clear. He doesn't mean we're going to charge the same money as Cinti. He means, no. What do they charge per asset?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I would have the way that Cinti sells the stuff, absolutely amazing set of assets. I've got several of them myself, but they can be quite pricey. You know, they do their mega pack and it's like 140 quid or something along those lines, which is a lot of dollar pounds to spend on an asset pack. It won't be that expensive. I mean, we don't know how many assets will be
pack out for Godot 3. But this one is going to is being rebuilt from scratch because the lighting doesn't work from those things in Godot 4.
Yes, there's a load of hoops to jump through to make sure that things are ready for the Godot 4. The other thing that we'll be doing is making sure that all of our assets are Godot compatible, so you will just be able to drag and drop into your Godot game engine straight away. There is a plan in the fullness of time to make sure, well, they are already going to be compatible with Unity and Unreal because you can export them yourself, but our intention is to make them in the fullness of time a U asset or what's Unity's thing called? Whatever, a Unity asset.
No idea. I should also point out that you will get a cut down version with the Godot course. So if you just want to do the course and you want some stuff to work with it, you don't have to like go and find some or pay us extra. But if you want the extra stuff and you can use it in your own games as well.
Well, it would be silly doing a course and not having the having the resources to follow along.
I'm sure it's been done. Okay, so here's the point where people fall first, right? I have my lovely image. Dragging it kind of works. Put it in. Now what do I do, right? Because this doesn't draw. And I can go to like these things and nothing's happening.
So what's the image that we can see at the moment? This blue and white image, like a blueprint?
This is my source image. This is what we're going to be using. So we have patterns and terrains over here. And at the bottom, you see where it says tile map, we also have tile set. When I drag this over, it automatically moves me to tile map. So we need to set up the tile set and the tile map to be able to use this. Grumpy face. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we need to tell it how big each tile is. So let's zoom in a bit using middle mouse button, and I'm just going to make that full screen. So right now it's actually sorted out the right size, so everything's good there. And I can select each one of these tiles, and it's got a bunch of things. We can click on this tile set and get some extra information, and specifically, I'm going to want, well, I need my tile size, 32 by 32. Yep. And I'm going to want, 1 second. Right. The terrain set. We need a brand new terrain set, which we will set to, I believe it's corners and sides. I'm going to add the new thing. I'm going to call this blueprint. Actually, I'm not going to call it blueprint because that sounds like I'm working in Unreal. It's going to confuse everybody. Let's call this blue. And I'm not going to pick blue as a color because I have blue in the image. So instead, let's pick a nice purple. Fine. Okay. So it now knows that these tiles have a terrain layer. We could also add a physics layer so we can build collision into this. I'll show you how to do that in a bit. Navigation, same deal. And we can do extra stuff, like we can add in our own information. And under rendering, we can even put occlusion layers so we can have these things block light. I have done a test with all of these done. It took a while. Be warned, the initial setup for this is painstaking. Once it's done, this is an amazing system. All right. So I've got my tile set. That's all set. Let's look at my terrains. This terrain set is going to be 0. And it's terrain 0. Okay. What does that mean? -1 means there is no terrain. Now you might be thinking 0 means there's no terrain. This is not a Boolean, right? This is not a true false. What's happening is we can say, I have terrain 0 and terrain 1 and terrain 2 and so on. So I could say terrain 0 is the grass, terrain 1 is the beach, terrain 2 is the ocean, terrain 3 is the forest, and we can make rules. This tile must have the ocean on its left and the forest to its right. It's not quite wave collapse, but it's the same kind of idea. All right, so here's the fun bit. We're going to go here, and we're going to set which terrain it is, which is, come back, 0. Nope. There we go, 0. And then we get these bits. And what we're going to do is tell it which one the walls are. So the wall is going to be the top right, and this is a little hard to see, so let's just do that. And that, there we go. Okay. Annoying bit coming. Everything that is our terrain is 0. So right side is 0. Right bottom is 0. Right bottom side is 0. This is too big. Let's put that back to 16.
So the purple and blue might be a bit hard for people to see on stream. Have we got?
Good.
Could we make it a bright green or something, or something?
Red.
Red. Can everybody see the color difference there? I mean, it shows up quite well on stream for me. Is everybody okay with that? Concerned it might be a bit too close to just blend in.
All right, so while that's happening, I'll set up some other ones. So right is 1, bottom right. And after all, you get to realize, okay, this is clockwise. But you still have to go through manually. You can't just click here, right?
Oh, so that's like a, is that a 3x3 grid, essentially, that you're coloring in manually?
Yes.
Got it.
Because I've set this up to be corners and edges.
Gotcha.
Because that's what I need for this. So right side, actually don't need all of these, do I? But hang on a minute, this grid is the wrong size. No! Okay, one more time. It is actually 32 by 32, not 32 by 3. But it's not just that needs to be 32 by 32. This setup must also be 32 by 32. There we go. Okay, so both the region and the tile. You can see why this gets confusing. So once more, under setup, I've got my texture region size set to 32 by 32. And over here, in the tile set, I've set the tile to 32 by 32. So my region and my tiles are the same size. I have under terrain, a new terrain, which I'm calling blue with the color pink, just to confuse everybody. And now when I click on this, you can now see these things properly. So this right-hand one, that's why I was duplicating stuff, is wrong. So set those to -1, and you should be 0. Okay, and now it starts to make a bit more sense. But it's a lot of clicking, and it keeps removing stuff as I need it, which is my favorite. So you.
Yes, I can see. I can see now what you've been describing to me all week. That a lot of this is very, very manually intensive. When it appears to have a solution to it, right? Why not draw these in with the mouse? Would be one.
Right, and like the people who designed this system did an amazing job in terms of what it can do, right? It's really flexible. The user experience was probably not their immediate concern. I mean, I don't know, I've not spoken to them, but I'm at a situation where I want to do a tile map course as part of Godot for everyone. I just don't know how useful this part of the video is, right? Because I'm talking while doing other stuff and his cat's singing to me. But I have a lot of tiles to do.
And it's not just that. From what we've been chatting with in the background, we very quickly end up in a position where if you have this tile set and you reproduce another image, so using think you could just import this terrain over to the new graphic that you're using, can you?
Well, almost, kind of ish.
Almost.
So
you see that
if
that's
I
one
was
of the
to
problems.
duplicate this, right, and then I would go into this tile set and I would go to setup and I'd change the texture. My problem is this tile set is a resource. So by changing this, I change both of them. So you would have to make a new tile set. But if you make a new tile set, you lose all your changes.
So effectively, you have to do the thing again.
Effectively, you have to do the thing again. This guy, you're going to have to wait a while, buddy. I'm working. I know. Very, very sad meow. Okay, those three. So this is not the most fascinating thing in the world, right? But we do kind of need to do it because if we try and use a tile map without it, right? So let's go to the tile map. So I've clicked on tile set.
Didrik says this could really benefit from a bit mask painter tool like in Godot 3.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a bit mask. Why is my terrain not showing? You are a terrain. I've added you. Hang on. Tile set, terrain, paint. No, that's the, okay, this is the paint and visual thing. Tile map. There it is. Now it shows. Why? Who knows? Now, we haven't added enough of these pieces, right? And
I don't know, it seems to be somewhat functional.
It's doing something, but it's very confused. I haven't set these up correctly. So
not got enough information yet.
It's not enough information. But when I do a big room like that, it does show, right?
We think that's probably the case as well. Maybe painting, this will be implemented in one of Godot's next releases, or
probably
someone's going to come along and write a plugin.
Almost certainly. There are other considerations, not least of which, this isn't how polygons work. So if we want to add physics and navigation, well, in fact, I'll show you, right? Let's say we want collision. So I'm going to add a collision layer. Great. Let's go to this one, and we're going to add its physics.
Oh, this is fun. /S. This is not fun at all. There's no snapping to pixels involved or anything, is there?
No. Now there is a snap button. I can snap to half pixel. Why half pixel? I don't know. Doesn't seem to do anything. You might think, well, I'll do this to change the pixel size like you do. No, you don't. So you have to do these manually.
And of course, some of them are just rotations of other pieces, right? So it's a shame you can't...
But it doesn't know that, because I drew this image. There's no reason for them to be in this order.
No, what I mean is they are rotations of it. So why can't you copy and paste your physics layer and then have a button that says rotate?
Because we don't have that functionality.
Yeah.
Now, you might not need it this precise, in which case this is fine. But frankly, like, I can't resize this window. I can do that, but that's not great. Like, this is not a wonderful experience. And then if you want to do navigation, it's the exact same thing. It works. And by the time you get these results, they're pretty good. Now, I can go through and do every single one of these, right? I can go through and say, let's take this terrain set it to 0, terrain 0, because of course the terrain set can have multiple terrains in it. And I can say, okay, so you can have a thing on the right, you can have a thing on the bottom, and you're almost certainly going to miss something.
Yeah, it's going to be very easy to make a mistake.
I'm just wondering if it's worth skipping this or doing the full thing. What do you guys think? Like, do you want me to stop and then show you the final result on a different build, or do you want me to go through the whole thing? I'm happy either way. As I used to tell my undergrads, I'm paid either way. I don't care.
I mean, one of the issues is we don't know whether it's on the radar at the moment to be fixed at all. It might be something.
It's on the radar to be fixed. We have no idea when or how. Like, a lot of people I know who teach Godot are like, I'm going to wait on this. And I can see why. I would wait on this, except I'm already getting questions from students. How do I use this? So it's telling me I shouldn't wait. So any preferences? Do you guys want to see the whole thing set up as we talk, or should we just skip to a use case?
We've got another question just here. So you can use this map for multiple terrains then?
Yes, you can.
So you only have to set it up once?
Yes. And so let's go to my setup. Okay, so you can give each one an ID, and we'll call this blueprint. And you can do all this. And then in here, in the terrains, as you set up your terrains, you can say, okay, now get me to terrain number 2, and that's going to terrains in terrain set 2, go to terrain 1 or whatever it is. I need to play a little bit with exactly how you set that up, but you can have multiple atlases and just change the thing. So you can do multiple terrains like that. This cat will not stop meowing. Excuse me one moment. He wants his dessert water.
Dessert water. I love it. The dessert water, I believe, is the tap in the bath, and the standard dinner water is the tap in the sink. But there we go.
All right.
Have I got this right, Yann? The dessert water is the tap from the bath.
Whichever one he's drinking right now is not dessert water. That's the important part. Do we have any preferences for seeing the whole thing set up or moving on?
Moving on. Yeah, okay. We've already got 3 people saying, yep, skipping that is absolutely fine.
Like, it's tedious, right? It's not that it's difficult, it's just that it's really tedious. Okay, so let me open another instance of Godot 4. Look at me, still talking when there's science to do.
I've made sure they can see both of our lovely faces in the interim. Yes, it's really frustrating that such a powerful system is hamstrung by its interface.
Well, no, it makes sense because the people designing the powerful system are getting the features in.
Yes.
But people who write good systems are not necessarily either focused on or experienced with good UX. Like, it's a completely different skill set. All right. So what do I have here? I have the wrong scene. What do I have here? I have a tile map, and in it I have placed a little ball. The ball is a navigation agent. It has a light source, and it knows that if I click somewhere, it should find the shortest path. But wait! Boop, 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 boop. Boop.
And so it's navigating the best way it can to...
And if there is no path, it'll get as close as it can and then stop. And if it's moving, and I add a path, it'll update.
Good evening, BitGamey. Yes, so much handsomeness on one stream. Isn't that against YouTube's terms of service? Well, that's why we've had to switch back briefly to Godot before showing our beautiful
that's
faces.
why I have such a low-quality webcam.
A what quality? that actually broke up at that point as well. And a microphone to match.
Yeah, a low-quality webcam. So we have a bunch of different things going on here. Now, the idea was, okay, I don't want to remake Heistmeisters, but what if we take the idea of like that kind of stealth game, use a visual aesthetic of a building blueprint, and then set it up like this, or tell the character to tunnel through this wall, that kind of thing. How would we set this tile map? And I kind of like this tile map. Like it works quite nicely, right? And this is all happening at runtime, and it has a bunch of shadows in it, which, how could you not like that? But the setup for this was a pain in the backside. So for every single tile, we have to set up the occlusion layer, the terrain masking bits, the physics, and the navigation. Now, originally in Godot 3, this was very time consuming. They've completely revamped the system, given it a whole bunch of different things it can do.
But it's still time consuming.
I don't know if it's better or worse. Like, what you can do with it is better. And like some of the rules you can do are wonderful. And I mean, let's take a look at patterns as well. Like,
one of the things that really strikes me is often a physics layer or a the other type of layer, that your navigation layer, is almost like an on and off. Can you navigate here? Is this a collision layer? It strikes me as why can't we provide a black and white image showing that information? It almost seems like it's tuned to do that, and then you could literally
it's not reading the image,
but it could do.
Right, but that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we could do is we could place any thing of tiles and then select them and paste them in here. Oh, right, that's the wrong thing. Copy, paste. There we go. That one can get deleted. Okay, so now I could just paste in my come on. Come on. Why are you not doing the things? There we go. I have to select the other one and come back to it. Fantastic. I can set up these patterns. Now, we don't have to have the same kind of pattern. We could make a different kind of pattern. So let's take, oh, no, that's the wrong thing. Let's take here, select, drag, copy, paste, go to the draw icon, and you see here we have this random thing. And I can say I want a scattering of 25%. So now when I draw with these, erase. When I draw with these, it's going to pick one of these tiles at random based on 25% chance. So if you're adding things like shrubbery, damaged bricks, whatever it is, right? I'm just holding the mouse button down and dragging, and it's using the scatter rule. This is a really nice touch. You can also do things like add scenes in or animations. Like you can put a whole bunch of stuff you couldn't do before. But the basic setup is tricksy. We hate it, precious. I mean, you can also add in your own style of information, right? There's a whole miscellaneous thing you could put in.
Oh, that's interesting. What would you use the miscellaneous thing for?
Custom data layers. That is a great question.
Oh, where lighting is and where it isn't. Perhaps something along those lines?
You could use it for things like room types. You could use it for things like triggers. You could use it for things like, whatever you want, right? Any data you could think of, you could put it directly in your tile map and the tile knows. And then when you start doing things like terrains, and don't forget, like I've got one of each tile apart from these bottom ones, but you don't have to. You can variations. As long as the bitmaps and the collisions are set properly, it will pick one. And you can even weight them, which is, is awesome. But, and like here's an animation thing, it's just a pain to do. So your first steps, you're going to make your tile set, bring your image into the tile set, and then remember you have to switch between tile set and tile map to use it, especially if you want to do terrains. Anything, any layer you want to add in, any terrain layer, navigation layer, physics layer, occlusion layer, which is hidden under rendering, is going to have to be done on the right-hand side first, And then when you go to tile set, click on the tile, and it's all in here under select. It's not under paint, which, you know, would be a nice place to put it, but you hit paint here and nothing happens because that's not what you want. You want, come back, tile map, tile, and that will let you paint it if I didn't have that on. Right, so I've just got that one tile selected.
Was that the erase tool by any chance, what you had on previously?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, in my brain, pencil and eraser would cancel each other out. If you click on one, you can't have the other. But that's not the case. That's just the erase mode for drawing. But if I want terrains, I have to set up the terrain, name it, set up all these tiles, and then I don't have to click on these. It'll just work.
Yes, because you've told it how it all links,
At least it was
rather
working.
how it all should link together.
Yes. It was working. There it is. I clicked the wrong thing.
And then if you were to fill in a large block, it would just be blue in the middle.
Well, here you go.
Hey, there's a tool for that. Yes.
Boop. There's even a fill tool. Right? Like, you could do great stuff.
An anti-fill tool.
Yeah. Like, once you've got it set up, this is incredibly versatile, either for level design or at runtime.
I love the fact you can do it at runtime. Is it outside the level? Nice.
Yeah, I moved everything. I broke my level, Michael. Is cat, give it a rest, buddy. Oh yeah, I moved my tile map, didn't I? Thank you. Once more. There we go.
I like the lighting effect as well. It's little
it just adds a lot, right?
Yeah, little details.
You can add 2D materials to this. So if you want normal maps, that's fine. Just have a texture with a normal map texture built in, and it will work. There we go.
So this particular tile map has, obviously its image layer, has a navigation layer, so it can navigate, and a physics layer. So how's I might be being naive here. How's the physics layer interacting with this, or is it not? Would this still work without that physics layer?
It does have collision, but it's not using it unless something goes wrong. Like, if my navigation is too generous and it tries to run into the wall will still stop it.
Gotcha.
There we go. Here's a nice little corridor for you.
I like the fact it auto resumes as well. You could see it thinking almost.
The new navigation agents are wonderful. Like, let's take a look at the ball script. Okay, so ball is a character body 2D. So it's a physics body. So it's moved by physics, but it's not a rigid body. It's not moved by forces. It is directly moved by code, and it has no mass. So we'll say when you get this impulse, move. Let's take a look what the impulses are. We have a navigation agent specified. It must be a navigation agent, and it is this node. But it's set up so if I wanted to, I could change it to a different node. Which is should be up here, but I can't see it. It's fine. We have a speed. Every frame, check if the navigation finished agent has run this function. If it has, stop. Otherwise, keep going. We have two more things. When we get new destination, then you're just going to go to the navigation agent and tell it set target position with our new coordinates. This click here, blueprint test new destination is just set to be where we click. So if you click somewhere, that's where it goes. And then we have this thing here on navigation agent 2D. So right here, velocity computed. So when you've computed the velocity, here's your safe velocity. Then I want you to move. This allows us to do something kind of fun. This is the wrong map. Ooh. This is the correct one. Okay, cool. Let's take this and just go duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. All right. We have collision avoidance. Oh, they're not all set. Wait, no. If I move it to another ball, you'll see it tries to move around the thing.
Yeah.
Or it will slow. I don't have that set up to run multiples at the same time, but you can. I've done that in the past. So what's happening? Blueprint test is just taking an input. When there's a left click, just tell it, I want you to move here. When there's a right click, go right. Because I'm using a signal rather than a group call, I would have to, in fact, I can set this up right now. Let's just do that. Set this destination to every ball. Boop. Ball 3. Ball 4. I forgot what I was doing. Ball 5. Okay.
Nice.
So we run this, and now when I click, if I remember what I've done, they all get confused. Awesome. Yeah, no, I completely forgot how I set this up. I set this up a while back, so apologies. But in theory, you could do it that way. Or it doesn't have to be on click. They just pick a destination and start moving. What's nice about this is that I don't have to put any AI into this. It has a destination. Can it go there? That's all we care about. The navigation agent 2D and 3D is wonderful. You give it a radius. You tell it if it has to avoid things. You tell it how many neighbors it can have and how far away they can be, and it just works it out for you. Whereas before, you would have to code this all in manually. So yeah, there's my quick little introduction to using Tilemaps in Godot 4. They are a little fussy, but once you have them set, they're amazing. And you can do all kinds of stuff. Randomization, animation, custom data sets, bringing scenes in. So you can actually have, logic and all the rest of it built in.
Got another question. This is a 2D node at this point. Do you need to convert it to 3D? Does Godot do that for you, or do you need to do it separately?
So the 3D version of a tile map is a grid map. And grid maps don't work quite like tile maps. You don't have access to terrains. You'd have to write that in yourself. The dungeon you saw was originally a grid map. We stopped using a grid map because grid maps have some limitations, not least of which a grid map is a single object, right? So you'll change what's in each cell. So in a tile map, you have tiles, and the grid map, you have cells. So this room here is this mesh and this collision and all the rest of it, but it's still technically one object. So it can only have a certain amount of lights on it, and you can't use occlusion culling because it's one object.
The amount of objects, amount of lights on one object was 4, which is causing us a problem.
I think.
Oh, okay. Whatever it was, the limitation was actually quite.
Godot 3 was a lot lower. Godot 4, they've raised it, and there's a place where you can go change it. But that's a performance cost. There's a reason why you don't simulate lighting all the time. The other reason is occlusion culling works by object, not by vertex.
Yes.
So what that means is you either see the object or you don't. So if your entire grid map is one object, then occlusion culling will never work because you can see it. You can see it, therefore the whole thing is rendered. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
That's fine. I stopped sharing your screen and started sharing our handsome faces a few moments ago.
Oh, I didn't know I'd brought my handsome face.
I'll just put that face on.
So yeah, grid maps are a lot of fun. We did originally use them for our dungeon. Then we moved over to just custom instancing and moving around individual scenes.
Yeah.
It suited our purposes better, but with a grid map is potentially as powerful as a tile map. They just haven't put in those terrain features on a grid map yet.
And when our rooms got rather dense, everything being a single object, as you were pointing out earlier, meant that a lot of extra geometry was being rendered unnecessarily.
But if you have a smaller space or a specific kind of level or a specific kind of game, like our levels are big. Each room is 20 by 20, or 20 by 7 by 20 meters, and there are 100 tiles by default. So that's 2,000 meters. No. 200 meters. No. Help me, Michael.
Nope.
400.
This is entertaining.
400. I have a drama degree, a drama education degree.
Yeah, 20 by 20, and then in a was it 100 by 100 grid, or was it further than that?
10
Was
by
it
10
100
grid.
of them? 10 by, so 10 lots of those. So yeah, 200 by 200 meters.
So it's pretty performant, but if you want to access other things like, I don't know, lots of lights on at the same time or occlusion culling, you'd want a different thing. However, a situation where you want players to be able to place decorations, grid maps are great. Because all that information is in there, you just add the cell. We are at the hour.
Already? Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if anyone else has any questions, concerns, thoughts, comments, interpretive dances and jingles. If not, Michael, you can say some things for a while. I've been saying things for an hour.
Okay. I wasn't prepared.
We decided this week we weren't going to play Project Zomboid. We decided to play No Man's Sky. How was that?
So, let me tell you a little story about UI and terrible choices.
It's actually gotten a lot better.
I know. So I was very specific with Yann. I was like, do not tell me what to do. I want to go through and have the raw experience. And firstly, before I absolutely moan about it, I want to first say how much that game has come on since I've played it.
Had
I
a
played
really
it in
good time.
three other instances.
Once we got past the first half hour,
yes,
I was just like figuring out the UI and got our ships and started having some freedom and making a base. It got a lot more fun.
Now, I don't know how much of the moaning I was doing was valid, whether I missed a key element. So there were several times where it would show you what to do, but it would like highlight it and it would be all glowy, and I was just clicking. I wasn't actually reading any of the prompts. Click here, click there, yeah, sure. But when it came to doing something myself afterwards, I was like, oh crap, what?
Yeah.
What button did I have to press? I'm just going to press all of the buttons. But there was other things. Some obviously it's been set up for controller, and controller is great for certain circumstances, etc. So I was doing things by clicking on them. Yep. And there are several things that it's not a click. It's make sure you're hovering over that item and then click for a bit.
Hold the button down, or a lot of things you have to press X, which brings up a little menu at the bottom, and then you cycle through them, and then you press it. Now, the building system used to be on there. So when you wanted to build a part, you would go to build, go to structures, go to wood, go to walls, and that irritated the crap. Now it's just a big window. And it's great.
And one of the things that I spotted straight away was the similarities between that and State of Decay 2. I didn't spot them the first time round, and I started playing it again recently. And one of the things that I notice is when you go into a menu, if it's been set up for a controller, you'd usually select with the, certainly on an Xbox controller, you'd select with the A. And if you need to come back out a level, you'd press B. Now they've mapped that for mouse and keyboard to left click and right click. So it's taken me a long time to understand that the menu that I'm in, if I do any other exit command, it goes back to the actual game rather than the UI.
The game has become a lot of fun, especially with friends. Like, it's just a lot of fun. But the UI takes a while. Question from Deirdre. The pre-order courses for the ARPG available on your website right now pertain to everything shown tonight.
That's correct.
It is. And there are also ARPG courses for Blender stuff, including one coming up on
you can specialize if you want, or you can get the whole lot.
And music. And there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, we had to wait for Godot 4 to be stable before we even started on most of this, which is why it's taken this long. But there's a lot of stuff made, and like the music stuff's already out and good. And there's a lot of stuff still coming. I'm particularly looking forward to seeing what happens with models and animation. But the first of the Godot ones is going to be creating a procedure-generated dungeon, which is going to be all about the code we use to generate the dungeons, how we do things like specify where the start room and the end room are. The throne room is a double-sized room, so that needs a whole different set of rules. Unique rooms, lighting, volumetrics, effects,
and actually being able to do those unique rooms. The other thing that you could do, obviously, we probably won't scope creep to that extent, but you could take what you've learned and make a much bigger room. So it doesn't have to be a 2x2; it could be a multi-leveled room if you wanted to.
Yeah, we're not currently playing with the uppy downies, but you absolutely could.
Yeah, totally. And that gives you the ability to even just space out a room that has a big chasm in it, for instance, if you wanted that
Yeah.
type of effect in your
And now
game.
this isn't a specific particle course, but we will look at things like how we get the flaming skull in the exit room, how we made those torches, how we made those portals. Um, it's got things like how to get the collision shapes, how to get your occlusion layers work, your what's it called? I've forgotten the word. Occluding object behind, not occlusion as in light.
Culling?
Yeah, thank you. Occlusion culling.
Okay, yeah.
So if I'm looking at the wall, I'm not rendering all the rooms behind it, which saves a huge amount. Like that made my game go from 20 frames a second to 60, which, is worth it. We'll also be looking at what options you could put in for people with higher end machines. Like maybe you really want ground fog. I turned it off. Wasn't adding enough, but it was taking 5 to 10 frames a second off.
Yeah.
Screen space reflection.
I mean,
How to get ambient lighting working with SDFGI, which is not obvious.
yeah, each one of these things that you end up adding, like most things, the more shiny you want the thing, the more it's going to cost you in terms of either like if you start adding a lot of physics objects to a scene, that's going to usually impact your
Well, we'll
your
talk about physics
CPU,
objects as
your
well,
cycle.
because we're going to be deciding what props can go where and setting up rules for that. So
Yeah.
not every library and table is going to be the same. And then how you're going to deal with character bodies walking into rigid bodies, because by default, they'll just stop each other. We don't want that. We want them moving.
Yeah.
Which does lead to infinite inertia, which is funny because it means you walk into a table in Hulk smash, but still. How to generate our little light spell. It's not, these aren't the final spells, but you might want a little light going down the corridor so you can see. Like everything you've seen today is building towards that course. There's still some optimization I want to do.
Yeah.
And I need to plot the right path through it, the curriculum. But yeah, that's the first of the Godot parts of that. Other Godot modules in these courses, other courses in this module, rather this pack, are going to include things like combat, character customization. I mean, everything's on the Kickstarter, right? Inventory systems, magic systems, like all of these things.
So there's a question there about how many courses in total do you think this will end up being? One of the things that the sun, that's very bright. Anyway, so one of the things that it can be quite difficult to pinpoint when it comes to the number of courses, because occasionally when we create a course, it can be, oh yes, this is going to be a course, and it ends up being so short that it needs to actually be part of another course. Alternatively, you get the flip side where you go, oh my word, this is too much, and it's spread out too far and wide, that it's no longer capable of being self-contained, so we end up splitting things. The only way of going through that, some things have a logical containment. So if we did particles, you wouldn't start talking about nav meshes with particles, I would assume.
No.
Similarly, in Blender, if we were talking about presenting your objects, we may be talking about setting up lighting, setting up how you do your render settings, etc. But we wouldn't be talking about modeling during that. So there are certain courses that are self-contained as well. So the answer to how many courses do you expect to end up with at the end of the RPG package, I'd probably say on the RPG page, it probably puts it all together really nicely, and I'm just trying to find that at the moment so I can actually talk about it.
A few. Like, we don't want to just add some just for the sake of them. Like, we're not trying to milk money out of people, but realistically, if we did the entire thing as one giant mega course, not everyone wants everything on there.
Oh, so it's a big problem. If we did let's say all the content comes to 100 hours, there'll be plenty of people out there who go, "Oh, that's amazing value for 100 hours."
No. With Blender and music, everything else, we're talking like 400 hours. But yeah.
But the flip side is true. Someone sees a course that's that massive, a lot of people, I've heard them say, "Oh, that's too. I've got no time in. How am I going to put that amount of time aside?" It's very difficult, especially.
Or maybe you're not interested in how to do the procedural generation. You just want to know, how do I get the combat working? Or I don't care about the Godot stuff. I just want to learn how to make music.
Yes.
In which case, you watching this stream was a strange choice.
But thank you
because it was
anyway.
a Godot stream.
And if you do sign up for any of the things that are currently on the website, they are bundles. So, for instance, if you signed up right now for the all 3 learning paths, then you'd automatically be enrolled in the courses that are currently out. So that is the LMMS course, it's the concepting course, and there is a procedural weapons generation course in there as well.
I just froze my computer, but it's back now.
Oh, hello. Welcome back.
That's why I was uh-ohing. I mean, yeah, we're really proud of what we managed to do with the prototype in Godot 3. Already the Godot 4 stuff is looking incredible.
I'm going to do a bit of reading out from the light in front of me. So this is just from the tier list that we got. These won't necessarily be courses, so don't hold me to that. But these are the titles of the potential courses we were talking about before. So in terms of asset packs, we're going to see a dungeon, medieval weapons, UI elements, a rigged and animated character, and a soundtrack. We're also going to, course-wise, be seeing an atmospheric game soundtrack course, modular generated weapons, which is one of the ones that's already out, and the ARPG, we called it the core course. That's the mage generation thing that Yann's talking about for the moment. Then we moved on to the next stretch goal, which was the overworld, and we got...
Well, hang on. Core course is a module in itself. So that's the generation, third-person control and combat, AI, inventory system. Like that's a whole module, series of modules itself.
As I say, this list is not definitive. So we have the overworld, we've got the nature and outdoors, we've got particles, which is what we've been talking about, and then we've got the game soundtrack part 2. So we've with the soundtracks, by the way, the plan is to have one that has your traditional RPG, medieval style, you know, flute, tambourine, the typical thing you would associate with medieval. But then for the other game soundtracks, there's 2 more left on the list. They will have different thematic elements. So one will be more, I'm thinking at the moment, cinematic style, and one of them will be more synthwave style as the 3 broad genres. And Yann's going to do a kazoo one. You heard it here first. Thanks, Yann. I think people are really going to enjoy that. I mean, it sounds
when we
like
have
we're
more
joking.
time on a stream, ask me about my kazoo story, because I'm responsible for a lot of kazoos.
Someone note that. We'll ask him next week. Then we've got 2D UI element creation, concepting your world. Concepting course is already out. We've got creating your own dungeon, which is Blender course, creating your own environment within Godot. Again, that's part of what Yann's been doing so far. Then we've got character classes. We've got asset packs of armor and clothing, and then the courses, we've got the concepting, creating nature, Godot particle systems. Now, some of these sound like repeats, and they were, so that we've added to the concepting thing character concepting, so that is now available for everybody as well. Creating your own dungeon, creating environment in Godot, I just read that, sorry. Creating nature in Blender, Godot particle systems, character and weapon classes, spells and projectiles, keys and locks. Then, almost there, we've got asset packs of lovely loot and another soundtrack. Then we've got courses on modular clothing and armor, making modular dungeons. So obviously, again, that's a repeat of the dungeons nice and early, but this time we'll be specifically looking
Well, no, we weren't originally going to be making modular dungeons.
No, we weren't, exactly. So we're building upon previous one, so it won't be a separate course on modular dungeons. That is the dungeons course that's being put together at the moment. Then we got random loot, procedural buildings, procedural characters, and modular weapons in Godot. And then finally, the character creation. We're going to be doing a little asset pack with the NPCs, and we're going to give them funny names as we always do. What have we got here? Character design and creation, rigging, animating, implementing, dodging, and rolling. So in the game, you'll be able to come out.
Does this list have like a rest break at some point?
A character customization, and finally, equipping, armor, and clothing. Thank you. And I can breathe.
Look.
And yeah, thinks I've gone because I shut down the browser, but he's not. We can still see him. He's typing to me now. He's saying, "Mike, where have you gone? I'm all alone." Look at him.
Right, cool.
Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. There he is. You can still carry on talking, you know, everybody able to see you. You're still there. That's the way this program works. It's brilliant. I can disappear and you can still show.
Good. He hung up on me. But on that note, we should have finished about 15 minutes ago, and I need to eat some dinner.
Was that list 15 minutes long?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the tour of the dungeon. That was a sentence I shouldn't have said. I hope you enjoyed the less of that, Michael. I hope you enjoyed the tile set shenanigans and Michael's giant list. And yeah, I'm going to get back into the light because it's dark in here all of a sudden.
My lighting has changed since the sun's set, but never mind. Well, it's not quite set, but it's not out in its full glory anymore.
Yep. So we should probably do some sort of sign-off thing.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Bye. See you. Bye. Press it.
I'm getting there.
Press it.